Welcome back, everybody. We are going to watch the most evil building in Europe. Why is it evil? Is there traps inside? Is it run by evil people? I don't know. Let's find out. Oh, wait. This is in Bucharest. I've been there.
This is the Palace of the Parliament.
Yeah.
270 by 240
That
meters.
was massive,
It is
that
one of
building.
the largest buildings on the planet, and it's probably the heaviest.
I didn't know it's
However,
the largest.
this concrete giant is
thought-
small.
I thought the largest building is in India, from some billionaire.
Compared with the master plan that created it. In the late 1970s, Romania's communist leader decided he wanted something new. A socialist capital that centralized his country's political institutions and cemented his reign. Over the course of a decade, Nicolae Ceausescu set in motion one of the most destructive master plans in human history,
What?
removing a section of Bucharest as large as Venice.
Why? For the building?
Romania is special. Located on the eastern end of the European continent, it's home to one of the most seismically active areas in Europe. The
Wait.
Francian
We have no earthquakes here, do we? At least I never experienced one.
mountain range within the Carpathians produces unusually strong earthquakes.
What?
And on March 4th, 1977, Francia produced an earthquake measuring more than 7 on the Richter scale.
Really?
In Bucharest,
You
it
learn
killed
there's
more
something
than
every day, huh?
1,500 Romanians, destroyed thousands of homes, and left tens of thousands homeless. For some Romanians, it was one of the worst disasters in their lives. But
Yeah.
for one Romanian, it was a blessing in disguise. On the pretense of responding to the destruction of the earthquake, Nicolae Ceausescu announced that the country needed to build a new capital in Bucharest city center. His plan
Wait.
was
Where was the capital before?
designed around 3 main sections. One, the Casa Populari, a massive structure designed to hold Romania's main political organs. Two, a horizontal axis of administrative buildings for the bureaucrats. And three,
For the
a massive
bureaucrats.
boulevard lined
Ugh.
with luxury apartments for the nomenclatura, Romania's political elite.
Guys, that's a lot of government buildings. Who needs that many government buildings? Well, I guess communism does.
Political elite. For his massive building, Ceausescu needed to scope out a safer location. Some of Romania's communist political institutions were damaged in the earthquake, and this couldn't happen again. So he chose Arsenal Hill, a mountain in the center of Bucharest that provided protection from earthquakes. However, there was a problem. Because the hill was safe, it still had an entirely intact neighborhood. Actually, this
So stupid.
wouldn't be a
Yeah, destroy a perfectly fine neighborhood and put a fucking massive building on it. Oh god.
problem for Ceausescu at all. He'd just destroy it.
Oh
It
my
was
god.
only a problem for the people living there.
Of course.
In the mid to early 1970s, Romania's Communist Party adopted multiple national systematization laws. The fundamental goal was to develop backwards regions and prioritize dense urban areas over rural ones. To
Well,
do
isn't it everywhere like that? Nobody cares about the countrysides anymore.
this, the party ordered villages to be converted into miniature cities with civic centers, functional zoning, and high-density buildings.
Really?
At face value, it didn't seem entirely bad. Density can be good. But Romania's communists were impatient. By the mid-1980s, the party
It's easier to control people if they're living closer together than spread out, that's why.
proposed that thousands of villages in Romania had to be entirely demolished and the population relocated to different villages in order to produce
What?
denser, more productive areas.
What? That's the most stupid thing I've ever heard. Destroy villages just to rebuild them somewhere else for no reason at all to get people together.
Fortunately for many, this didn't end up happening. Romanians chose revolution over central
Yeah,
planning.
I would have chosen also
But the
revolution.
individual neighborhoods in Bucharest weren't as lucky. Ceausescu ordered the destruction of more than 10,000 homes and forcibly evicted more than 50,000 families.
That's so ridiculous.
With a new blank canvas, he could start building. He launched a competition and received multiple designs. A big fan of North Korea, one of the concepts he received looks like it came straight out of Pyongyang. Made by the 20-something-year-old architect, Anca Petrescu, she purposely built large papier-mâché models to help convince Ceausescu to choose her designs. And it worked. Although her North Korean design wasn't chosen, she proposed another variation that did. Considerably thinner than what we know the building as today, it still featured its unique four corners. Nonetheless, it's hard not to notice how different it still looks. See, exactly what you'd expect from a communist central planner, Ceausescu was a control freak who wasn't very easy to please. He and his equally controlling wife would visit the building's construction site around 3 times a week.
Now, who was controlling who? The guy, the woman, or the woman, the guy to build this?
They wanted the columns to be Doric, Ionic,
It's always
and
the
then Doric
woman.
again. Windows that were round now needed to be square. He needed one more floor, then another one, and then another one. He destroyed marble staircases, ordered them rebuilt, ordered them destroyed again, and then ordered them rebuilt again. It
With
had
one
no
more
air conditioning,
stair.
specifically because Ceausescu feared a poison attack. And he would order
Oh god. The whole building without air conditioning. But yeah, I mean, it's not that hot in Romania. But you need ventilation,
people
guys.
to measure flowers on decorating columns in order to make sure that they were symmetrical. Over the course of the building's construction, it would take
Wow,
around
that's
30%
so huge.
of the entire country's budget. And overseeing the entire construction and reconstruction was Anka, the chief architect, who underneath her had 700 other individual architects and thousands of workers working in 3 shifts 24/7.
That's a lot of architects,
Because
guys.
Ceausescu was a man of the Romanian people, he ordered that the entire building should be locally sourced from Romanian materials. His palace required around 1
Well, regional sourcing is a good thing now. We try to do that all the time today.
million cubic meters of marble, 550,000 tons of cement, 700,000 tons of steel, 2 million tons of sand, 900,000 cubic meters of wood, 3,500 tons of crystal, 220,000 square meters of carpet, and 3,500 square meters of leather.
That's a lot of
Ceausescu and his
stuff.
communist cronies created an entire crystal industry in Romania to help build thousands of individual chandeliers. While he organized a political apparatus that scanned the streets to catch and punish families who used more than one 40-watt light bulb, his palace was rigged with tens of thousands. While he cut
That's just hypocrisy, guys. What?
central heating and hot water from Romanian households, he commanded the construction of a building that today requires the same amount of power as a mid-sized town.
Of course
His
it
building
does.
is made up of more than 1,000 individual rooms and has 14 floors, 10 above ground and 4 beneath. The building is also supposedly fitted with an atomic bunker and a tunnel system that could have secured an escape in case of the need for an evacuation. Unfortunately for Ceausescu and his wife, their tunnels wouldn't be useful enough in time.
No?
Now that he had a design for his building, Ceausescu also needed an equally monumental axis. Called the Victory of Socialism Boulevard, it would purposely be made longer than the Champs-Élysées, around 3.5 kilometers in length and 90 meters wide.
I gotta tell you, it's a quite impressive street to drive on. Yeah. It's something out of a dystopian movie, and it's very empty. Eerie.
Lining his boulevard are 10-story apartment buildings that were intended for key members of his party. From a distance, his boulevard seems like it completely disregards the native conditions of the city, as though the buildings were just glued on. And that's because they were. Eugenio Iordachescu was a Romanian also known as the Engineer of Heaven. Concerned about the planned communist destruction, he developed a system to move churches and historical buildings on rails.
What?
This allowed
At least he moved them, or tried to move them, and not just destroyed them like the villages.
him and others to save historical buildings that would have otherwise stood in the way of Ceausescu's grand plans. The last part of Ceausescu's plan were the administrative buildings surrounding the Piața Constituției, a massive semicircle where Ceausescu was supposed to address his people. Unfortunately for Nicolae, though, the building would not be completed in time for him to use it. Instead, Romanians grew restless, and they'd end Ceausescu's reign. Both him and his wife were sentenced to death in a brief military show trial
Oh.
and executed via firing squad. After his death, Ceausescu's palace remained unfinished, and it was unclear what to do with it. There were those who suggested that it should be demolished. It was the purest symbol of communism and Ceausescu's cult of personality.
Well, but that would be stupid to have wasted all the resources, right? And then destroy it.
And there were
Jesus.
also ideas to convert it into the world's largest shopping mall, casino, and even into a Dracula theme park.
What? Dracula
Could have
theme
also
park?
been
That was the most genius idea, but they didn't do it. What is there today,
densified,
guys?
but instead it was chosen to become the home of Romania's government. Today it houses both
Class
Romania's
theme
Chamber
park?
of Deputies and the Senate. It is the biggest parliament building on the planet and the second largest administrative building, second only to the Pentagon. The horizontal axis is still used by ministries, and the square is now used for concert venues. The boulevard is also still there, of course, but instead of apartments being filled with members of the Nomenclatura, they are some of Bucharest's most valuable apartments.
That street would be perfect for the love parade, guys.
Although Ceausescu's plans have now become integrated and over time have developed a practical political function, it should never be forgotten what this building is. It is Europe's largest and youngest symbol for centralized control and authoritarian communism. A constant reminder of how real it is to be led by people who live and breathe, do as I say, not as I do. This is your life in weeks, if you're lucky enough to turn 80 years old. Each week, a cube disappears, taking away a piece
This
of
is
your
an
life.
ad. Okay, we are finished with the video because the end is an ad. I know this one. Wow, yeah, this was a pretty evil building, not itself, but the guys who built it with their intentions. Bucharest in general had those huge 12-story buildings all over the city, and they were so run down, like they were not taken care of like for 100 years or something. Yeah. If they would take care of their city, it would be Berlin would pale in comparison to Bucharest, because Bucharest could be the most beautiful and most magnificent city in all of Europe. It's just crumbled away. Yeah, nobody's taking care of it. They probably don't have the finances for it, but it's very sad to see, because it's a horrible building and the history and everything, but it could be awesome if they take care of it and the surrounding area, but it's not like that. Maybe it will be again someday, hopefully, and we can all work together and make a Dracula theme park out of this. So if you enjoyed this video, go subscribe to The Hook. They make amazing videos, and I will see you guys in the next video. Cheers.